One major characteristic of small towns is a big sense of community, and at the center of many of those communities is a church. Founded 250 years ago, Kiokee Baptist Church, named for a nearby creek, still considers itself a small town church. But that small town church has made a big impact on the state of Georgia.
We don't take for granted the heritage.
Kiokee Baptist Church in Appling was founded in 1772 by Daniel Marshall. Marshall was sent across the Savannah River by the pastor of Stevens Creek Baptist Church in South Carolina. Steve Hartman, Kiokee's current pastor, says that move had consequences for Marshall.
And from there, he was warned by the Georgia authorities, Georgia, of course, being an Anglican colony, not to cross the river. And if he did, he would be arrested. And well, he did. And they did.
Marshall was arrested for preaching at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Augusta. Legend has it that Marshall was on his knees praying, and the constable, Samuel Cartledge, put his hand on Marshall's shoulder, saying, quote, "You are my prisoner."
Interestingly enough, the jailer who watched over Daniel Marshall in Augusta ended up being converted to Christ, coming to Kiokee, and actually was made a deacon at the church.
After he was released from jail, Marshall started Kiokee Baptist Church. He, along with Shabal Stearns and Samuel Harris, are considered the fathers of the Southern Baptist Church. Marshall is said to have been charismatic, leaving a lasting impression on people he came in contact with.
All that we know about him, he was a godly man. He was an uneducated man, but he was a powerful preacher. And his legacy remained through his son and even his grandson, who were the second and third pastor here at Kiokee.
Over its centuries in existence, Kiokee's congregation has been housed in 7 different buildings. No one knows where the first 2 were located, but the third building, built in 1808, is what is known as Old Kiokee Baptist Church on Tubman Road. Eddie Brown has been a member of the church his whole life. He explains that the congregation may have had a good reason for moving from the brick building to its 4th location.
As the congregation shifted towards Appling to get closer to the community, or back to Appling, it was from 1828 was the active facility until it was destroyed in 1875 by, history says, a tornado.
In 1937, the congregation built its 6th building on what is the current campus. In 1994, a new and much larger chapel was built and connected to the 6th building as an extension. Both are still used today.
But it's still the resiliency of those people. It'd been very easy, and when you think of that, of how many times those buildings were destroyed or things happened that you think, well, let's just quit this. But that was never an option. It was always the heritage that God had blessed us with to keep on keeping on, you know, and so I think that still resounds today.
The congregation still uses Old Kiokee Baptist Church a few times a year, but something special exists on that property. A natural spring-fed baptismal pool where they began baptizing people as early as 1821.
But the history goes back so that once a year, sometimes twice, the whole church gathers around the baptistry and does something that has been going on now for 214 years, seeing people take that visible act of following Christ.
Brown has fond memories of his own baptism in the baptistry and says baptisms are one of his favorite times of the year.
In this very room, we tell them, okay, when you step in the water, it's going to be cold. So be prepared for that. The shock is coming, and so you can see it on kids' faces.
Brown says one of the most special parts of Kiokee Baptist is the generations of family, many of whom can still trace their ancestry back to Daniel Marshall.
My 2 daughters were baptized there, and my grandchildren will probably be baptized there, and so.
What does that mean to you?
I can be very passionate about that because I love my family, and I love the fact that I get to go to work. I worship with my family, get to see them do ministry, and get to see them grow and mature. And
This year, Kiokee Baptist Church celebrates 250 years with several events, the last 2 happening in September. With that much history under its belt, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Hey, Appling, that's just part of your hometown history. In Appling, Kim Vickers, WJBF News Channel 6.